ANC Chairperson in Gauteng, Panyaza Lesufi, says key amongst the priorities of the Provincial Conference is to tackle lawlessness in the province. Lesufi was reacting to the news of the devastating shooting of 15 people at a tavern in Nomzamo informal settlement in Orlando West in Soweto in the early hours of the morning. The Provincial Conference is expected to conclude later this evening. Delegates voted for the additional members that will comprise of Provincial Executive Committee members. Lesufi and the party's Treasurer General, Paul Mashatile, will close the conference.
Sheer lawlessness, it's something that we must not allow. That when people are having their own nice time, someone there must think they can disrupt people's life like the way they did. And also it exposes us how our own communities are not properly policed. That we can have people that can just vanish in a thin darkness and we can't even track them. I'm convinced the police will do their work. I'm joining the Premier to visit those that are in hospital later this afternoon. But we send our sincerest condolences to the families. They don't have to go through this pain. We also wish those that are in hospital a speedy recovery. But we call on our law enforcement agencies, expand, change tech, and ensure that we've got the resources to protect our people. And all our people deserve to be protected. There must be no section of our society that must feel safe, and another section of our society must be exposed. And I'm convinced that during conference as well, we will table a motion that will assist us to fight lawlessness in our province. We really believe that technology is the way out. We need to enhance our technological prowess to fight, and we need to expand the human capacity of the law enforcement agencies. But most importantly, we need to target things that give birth to criminal activities, drugs, alcohol abuse, and many other related matters. Hopefully, the death of 15 people will assist us to know that we are confronted by serious lawlessness, and we need the capacity, the machinery, and the power to respond to that lawlessness.
Political analyst Levy Ndou joins us now for a little bit more on this conference. Mr. Ndou, always good to talk to you. Thanks so much indeed for joining us. This conference that looks like it's just concluded, how do you think the ANC came out of it? There was so much going in, a few dramatic moments during, a number of statements made, and hopes and wishes declared. What are your thoughts looking back at the weekend?
Good evening, Peter. Good evening to the viewers at home. Thank you for having me. Well, I think the conference of Gauteng might have brought a number of lessons to the ANC. If you look at the Eastern Cape Conference, the regional conference at Ekurhuleni, have not portrayed the ANC in a very, very good light. And I think the members of the ANC, especially those in the leadership, might have actually learned one or two things so that they are then able to do things much better. What I am impressed by the unfortunate events that happened in the Gauteng ANC is that apart from the squabbles that they had on matters relating to credentials, on matters relating to the quarantined votes of Ekurhuleni, they appear to have been able to sit down, put their heads together, and at the end of the day, they've been able to agree. What has also been outstanding for me, apart from the fact that the conference has been postponed, is that this weekend, it appears as if delegates were able to spend more time dealing with issues that are important rather than focusing on the squabbles, which is the element that appears to be dominant in the ANC. And maybe the ANC should try in the future, if there are instances where there can be quarrels and disagreements on credentials, separate the two so that elections should be done at a particular period, and then matters of policy and organizational renewal be dealt with at another forum. And this appears to be working, as we've seen, with the ANC in Gauteng.
All right, so you mentioned the quarantine votes, for example, but is that not just a question of delaying the problem, because it will need to still be dealt with? You might have gotten through the weekend, but you certainly haven't solved the issues.
You sometimes need to follow all the due processes that exist in the organization. But equally, if delegates and leaders at a particular locality are able to agree on certain issues, it might then be able to ease the tensions that appear to have been manifested in the ANC in that province. My view here would be that whatever decision that can be taken, it should then be acceptable to everybody across the entire province of Gauteng. What the ANC should avoid, and in the main Gauteng, is a situation where they might then take a decision which might not be acceptable to all the people and end up getting court challenges like we've seen in the past. So my view is that the leadership, the delegates at this conference must be able to provide a solution that will be accommodated by everyone, or at least by the majority, so that all of them must be in a position to defend whatever decision they've taken relating to the quarantine vote.
Do you think that by the time the party gets to the National Elective Conference that they'll be all on the same page? This weekend we heard the national spokesperson talk about people speaking out of turn, spreading a disruptive narrative, and that he feels that it may be that the National Executive may have to take disciplinary action against these people. And we heard the Provincial Chairperson talk about lawlessness that needs to be dealt with. These issues don't seem like things that you just, clap your hands and they disappear, even though they managed to get through a conference.
One of the challenges facing the ANC, in my view, is that of ill discipline and not following proper protocols, especially when it comes to communication. I am impressed by the fact that point number 3 of their policy documents talks to digital communication, and I know they also have to deal with communication broadly. When you have members of the same party speaking in different tongues, sending contradictory messages out there, it portrays a party that is not in cohesion. It portrays a party that is divided. And I think what the ANC has to do, which appears to be a challenge that they've identified, is to have specific people identified who should speak on behalf of the party. And of course, those who might seem to be breaching that protocol, the ANC should develop guidelines in order to be able to deal with such people. Another aspect that the ANC is focusing on in its policy discussions are matters of unity and party renewal. And I think part of unity and party renewal should also focus on how the ANC communicates to the people there, so that at the end of the day, the message that goes out to the public from the party should actually be coherent, and it should not be contradictory. Because where there are contradictory statements coming from the same party, it portrays an element of confusion and, of course, divisions within its ranks.
Voters who may not be members of the party are watching these things unfold. There's the issue of brand ANC. do you think that they're starting to turn the corner in terms of getting the right messages across so that those people who weren't sure what they might do at the votes might reconsider their party?
After the Western Cape, the ANC in Gauteng should be very much worried about its own image and also about attracting voters to its ranks. I think the ANC in Gauteng now has a better opportunity over this weekend to be able to do a self-introspection, to look at the different challenges that they face, and also ensuring that they build the brand ANC. If you have the party that will take almost 30 hours arguing and disagreeing over credentials, it does not go down well to an ordinary person who is watching from a distance, because those kinds of arguments are the ones that are responsible for tarnishing the image of the party. And instead of attracting people to the party, they actually sway them away from the party. The ANC, in my view, or other provinces, should have learned from what has happened in the Eastern Cape, what has happened in Gauteng, and if they want to build the brand of the party, they should try other means to do things better, to avoid unnecessary squabbles and quarrels, so that they are able to portray the brand in a very positive light. But if they go or they continue to do the way they've been doing in other conferences, that has a potential to seriously tarnish the image of the party.
All right, so that's speaking in broad terms, but there is a national elective conference that's going to be taking place later this year. Has anything that's happened this weekend had an effect on what might happen at the end of the year?
Yes, they do. When provinces discuss policies, when provinces sit down and do an analysis of the state of the organization, it has a potential to determine who then are the right people who must implement these policies, and who then are the right people who must then ensure that the image of the party is actually properly rebranded. My view is that Gauteng has a better chance to go and have solid proposals at policy conference and at a national conference, because they had sufficient time to discuss these issues. What in my view, the leaders of the ANC should avoid doing is to focus more on the squabbles about leadership, focus on the squabbles about credentials, because those, for me, especially credentials, are administrative issues that those that are based at the offices should be able to deal with them, so that when they go to conference, the only thing left for them should be only adoption. But when you have a polarized party, a party that is divided, a party that is quite factional, with all clear characteristics of factionalism, you would have them quarreling and not agreeing on small and simple things. And in my view, if the ANC want to come out of December strong and united, those are the basics, in my view, that they should be able to deal with and master.
Levy Ndou, always great talking to you. Thank you so much indeed. Your insights and analysis always greatly appreciated. Thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
All right, that's Levy Ndou giving us his take on what happened this weekend at the ANC's Gauteng Provincial Conference.